Excited to have Jennie Finch-Daigle on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
As a parent of a high schooler, do you think it's harder now to play multiple sports?
There's so many athletes that are not playing high school sports, and it breaks my heart because
How do y'all kind of coach your kids?
sometimes you find yourself being like the ones that you don't want to be like, and you're like, hold up.
If they don't specialize, they're not going to make it. Y'all have chosen another route.
You know, I was like, hey, your freshman year, like you should play all three. He hasn't hit puberty yet.
What are some of the things you need to watch for, though, for parents?
I'm definitely no expert, and I fail even as a coach too.
How did you handle the whole mental side of the game?
Practice builds confidence, and that's where my confidence was gained.
Compare how you were recruited versus how these kids are recruited today.
I started getting letters when I was a freshman in high school. That was pretty much it. Now it's, man.
What's your advice to the young athletes out there?
My advice to young athletes is
Before we get to the podcast, if you have middle school or high school kids that play sports and you don't want to fundraise like me, we got you covered. My buddy Chris Carneal owns Booster. Chris?
We help schools and sports teams raise funds in a super fun and engaging way. In fact, the last 22 years, we've raised $750 million, and we can't wait to help you. Choose booster.com.
Welcome back to Pure Athlete. I'm Jeff Francoeur, along with the two old guys here. I'll bring you in first, Brad and Brett.
Oh, wow. Get first billing today. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm
no
always
problem.
excited,
Well, I'm excited this week for our guests in a minute, who I'll introduce, but my Clemson Tigers got
They squeaked
the
in.
Texas Longhorns. We squeaked in, and we, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one to go to Austin and win,
Yes,
but
it
we'll
is.
see.
You buying tickets for it? You feel that confident?
I can't. We have, we got lacrosse, softball, and a piano recital. So
And
my
Chris-
wife put the no-go on me.
Yeah.
Going to Austin. Maybe if I felt more confident, it's going to be a tough
I was
game.
about to say. Yeah.
And Christmas right around the corner too.
Exactly.
So
Christmas parties, everything.
Yeah.
So it's a fun time of year, and I'm excited. But I'm excited for today's guest.
yeah.
Y'all know I talk all the time on the show about softball. I coach my daughter's travel softball team. I coach 6U. Softball is growing like crazy. And I've told you this, and I know I get crushed for it by my old guy friends, but I would rather coach softball than baseball. Yeah. I love coaching softball games, and the girls listen, so that probably helps too, better than the guys. But this girl right here was, I think, one of the key women to start softball and get it where it was.
no doubt.
We grew up kind of at the same era, and went to University of Arizona, was everything, won Olympic gold medals. But I think more important, what she's doing now with softball and how much she builds it. She has her own World Series. She's got 3 kids of her own. Her husband actually pitched in the big leagues. We face each other in the minors. But we are excited to have Jennie Finch-Daigle on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
yeah, thanks for having me.
So we'll kind of, obviously we'll get to a lot of this stuff, but tell us a little bit. I know you have you and Casey have 3 kids now. So what sports, what ages, what all is going on?
Yeah, so we have 3 kids. Our oldest is 18. He's a senior. He plays baseball and trying to figure out what the next step is for him. And then our middle son is 13, and he plays football, basketball, baseball. I would say baseball is probably we're all into the travel world, unfortunately, but fortunately. And then my daughter is 11, and she's currently on 4 teams, which is crazy. Nobody warned me for middle school girls, and softball in general. Jeff, as you know, it's insane. Luckily you're at 6U, so enjoy it while it's somewhat sane before you get to the insane part, because it's crazy, but we're enjoying it. You know, it's a dream to be able to watch your kids fall in love with just sports and athletics and reap the benefits of just the grind, the battle, the joy, all of those things as they grow and figure out themselves and develop friendships and relationships. And so we're in the thick of it, but enjoying it.
So you're 11. So I have my 11-year-old daughter, and I coach her 12U team, obviously, or whatever. But so your daughter's on 4 teams?
Yes. Middle school. Yeah. So right now she's playing club volleyball. She just finished up her middle school volleyball season, and now they're into middle school basketball and softball. They kind of overlap. And then she's on her travel softball team. So it's crazy. She leaves the day with like 4 bags like a pack mule at 11 years old, and we don't see her until late at night. But yeah, so, and you hate to limit them to one because you don't even know. I mean, she's 11, so who knows what she really wants to do, if anything. So we're trying to let her experience it all and just hold on tight and manage to get her where she needs to be.
Yeah, mine's doing club volleyball too, my 11-year-old, funny enough. But, here in Georgia, which you need to get this changed. You need to, we play high school softball in the fall here in the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
We're like one of 3 or 4 states. And I just hate it because it honestly, for the girls, it makes it a long year when you're doing that. Because then, as well as I do in the spring and summer, you're playing. And it's just like there's never a break for them. I mean, you literally, like they start, my daughter's 6th grade practices and stuff, they start, July 1st.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I don't and I could see maybe more so in the colder places, but I think it's Oklahoma and Georgia, the only 2 that I know of that
Which are 2
play
of the hotbeds. So it's
fall.
like, it's crazy
Right.
that they do it.
Yeah. Well, in Oklahoma, I think they still have, so in the spring they play slow pitch softball, which is crazy.
Really? Did you ever play slow
Yes.
pitch growing up?
Never. No. And actually, well, like when I first signed with Mizuno, I went to the Georgia State Championship and there was slow pitch and fast pitch. And my mind was blown because I've seen like men's slow pitch, but never
Beer league
never
softball.
girls. Right. That was the only slow pitch I knew of. So to think, and then I think back in the day, Georgia had both. So some had slow pitch and some had fast pitch, depending on.
So I want to ask, before we kind of get to your U Sports story, just kind of, obviously you and Casey both played at the highest level you could possibly do. So how do y'all kind of coach your kids, and kind of how do y'all deal with the pressures for them, and just kind of, obviously, like I said, again, they have, names that, they feel like, I'm sure they have to live up to at times. How do you and Casey deal with that?
Yeah, it's been a journey, and I feel like I'm definitely no expert. He's no expert, and you try to manage the best you can. And I think having been an athlete, you've experienced it all and you've seen it all, so you try to not be like some and be like others. And then sometimes you find yourself being like the ones that you don't want to be like, and you're like, wait a minute, hold up. And so I think we try to balance each other out, and then you throw in like the mix of just how different your kids are, and that's just wild in itself. And I always said, Coach Kendra at Arizona was by far one of the best coaches, or is one of the best coaches in the world. And I said he always treated us like a team, but at the same time he knew what each of us as individuals needed to be at our best. And I so appreciated that, because he had a bond and a relationship with each one of us, and he knew kind of what we needed to be challenged, and in the in the time of pressure and crunch, like what to be and who to be for us. And so I guess we try to do that, but at times we don't always. I don't know. It's been interesting. But so Casey coached the boys, and then this is what I'm saying, probably at 12 or 13, and he stepped aside, and he absolutely loves bringing his lawn chair and sitting in left field and just watching. He still coaches. He tries to pretend like he's not coaching, but he still coaches, them after practice and after games. Yep. and in our own personal just one-on-one workouts. But he's loving that, and I think the boys are loving it as well. Not having him kind of as a coach in the dugout. So yeah, and then I coach my daughter. I started coaching Diesel, our middle son's boys team, when they were like 6 to 8 or 9. And then I started coaching my daughter's team. So yeah, and I love it. It's tough when you're coaching your own kids, because there's so many extra added emotions in there that you try for them not to come out, but you can't help it, So, and then you try not to play mommy ball, daddy ball, in the mix. And sometimes I find myself doing the exact opposite in a way.
You punish your daughter. Absolutely.
Right. So yeah, I think we're all just trying to figure it out. And we've had the same group with my daughter from 6U till now. I think for the core group of them, they've been with us for that long. So we are like a family, which there's pros and cons, but it's been so fun to see these girls, especially when you get more competitive, all of a sudden you face teams that are, recruiting and plucking players from all over. And we've tried to stay true to, our girls and pouring into our local girls. We're in small town Louisiana. So it is a struggle to go to the big cities, Houston and Baton Rouge, and compete, but we do our best. And I do think as coaching, or part of the reason why I coach, is you try to navigate it, and I can kind of control how crazy it is, because as you know, like baseball, I'm talking a lot. Sorry guys, I'm just stole the mic.
No,
for
go.
the show. But baseball, like the boys, so you have 2 games, 3 games at most on Saturday, pool play. You know when you're going to play, and they're usually, you might have 1 game break, but it's usually morning, afternoon, what time of the day. Softball, and then Sunday single limb. Well, softball, you start double elimination bracket on Saturday night. So literally when we leave, and we usually have to drive to play quite a ways, hour, 2 hours. And so by the time we leave at, 5 a.m. Saturday, we're not coming home until 10, if not staying at a hotel. And then we're back at it. And if you're winning, you're at the field for 24, 26 hours, and at this young age, it's crazy. And I was like, how do the boys not have this, but the girls, they do. And so I don't know. I try to do our best, and we try to not, and there's teams that play every weekend. So we try to keep our balance, still be competitive, but yet still kind of try to maintain that balance that we all try and fail to maintain.
Yeah. You're not lying, because we've done that where it's like all of a sudden you see a pitcher in Atlanta, we're playing a tournament, pitcher comes from Montgomery, and I'm like, for 11-year-old softball? Like you recruit them, you bring them in, and then you're like, it's not even part of your team. So was it like that when you grew up? Or like, let's get to that. Like when you grew up playing, what was your youth experience like?
What was La Mirada like growing up for you?
I'm guessing nice.
Yeah, well, so so I ended up leaving to go to Cyprus because they had a more competitive league, and there weren't real travel. I mean, I think I left when I was 9, and I was really looked down upon in La Mirada because I did leave, but my parents knew that I needed to kind of take another, level. And so we went to Cyprus, and I'm the all-star team, and we competed at the national tournament up in Northern California. And that was like, and our all-star team kind of turned into a travel team. And then that was my first experience of, wow, like, okay, this softball thing could be special. We just placed second in the nation, and then started playing travel ball after that. But there was only a few travel ball teams. So all the really good players were playing travel ball. So it made the really good players that much better, and unfortunately now there's just so many teams that it's so watered down. Now it's like, who plays rec? We tried to fight it with our oldest, like, no, we're not doing the travel ball thing. Well, you show up to rec, and halfway through the season there's not even a real team, and there's only a couple kids that can actually play catch, unfortunately. And so we were kind of forced to go the travel ball route at a way younger age than we hoped. It was like, and Case kept saying like, this isn't how, I'm like, we need to stop saying that. Like it's totally different. And we didn't know what other people were doing. And it's just, it's crazy to try to navigate just life in general, let alone athletics in this day and age with just technology and everything that we have at our fingertips.
Well, that's why we're doing this show, because
right.
we've all had that experience
out
of how hard it is to navigate this whole thing. So, Jennie, I'm curious, as you grew up and played, you said at 9 years old, you went to an all-star team. Did you always pitch? Did you pitch from the very beginning? And how did you develop as a pitcher to become, as strong as you were with 5 pitches? Tell us a little bit about that evolution.
Yeah, so I think honestly, our coach lined us up on a line when we were, past, or when we got over coach pitch, and whoever could throw hard and somewhat threw strikes. And I could throw hard. I wasn't really good at throwing strikes yet, but I was always one of the bigger, if not biggest, kids out there. And so I think that helped. And so, yeah, I found myself in the circle, and my dad really dove in, I think was all in. I have two older brothers, one's 10 years older and one's 5 years older. So they were kind of in their, playing their sports. And I was kind of an only child once I got into the thick of it because they were both off at college. And so, yeah, he just dove in and we took on pitching and had success. I could throw hard and figured it out. And um, he ended up developing a shoulder exerciser and there really wasn't any information out there, and you couldn't, YouTube, you couldn't, you had to, I either would go watch women's fast pitch, which in Southern California, there was several games going on at any point of the year. So, and then the college game, as I got older, went up to UCLA. Cal State Fullerton was right where I was. So I got to watch a lot of those girls and learn from them. And Dr. Sherry Warner was this biomechanic doctor that was, she wrote in the NFCA, National Fast Pitch Coaches Association magazine. And my dad would get that magazine every month. Well, she was kind of the only one that had scientific data on the underhand windmill pitch. And so my dad kind of linked in with her and she became his mentor to try to make sure that I was, throwing efficiently and safely at the same time. And so started competing nationally. We went to our first, nationals out of state, Chattanooga, Tennessee, in 12 and under. And that's when our life switched to the crazy softball life. And yeah, managed to get a college scholarship to University of Arizona, and the rest was history.
What was your recruiting like going from high school to college, and how does it compare to like what you hear? I remember hearing a story. You said one of your relatives is a softball player, and she had just had a recruiting trip. Compare what you were, how you were recruited versus how these kids are recruited today, and all the resources they're provided.
Yeah, so there was the national tournament, and there was only one big nationals, and it was ASA nationals, and the college coaches would go, and so that's where they saw me pitch, and we could take 5 trips, and luckily I kind of was blessed and fortunate enough to kind of pick where I wanted to go, and narrowed it down to University of Arizona and University of Washington, and went to UW and called my parents, was like, this is the place. Like, I love it. I'm actually small here. There's girls taller than me. There's boys taller than me, which didn't really happen even in my high school. And it was a sunny weekend in Seattle, which is pretty rare. So it was beautiful. And it was great. The food was amazing. But their parents were like, wait, just come back home and go to Arizona. And luckily, so there was, I had 2 girls from my travel ball team that were freshmen at UW, and then 4 girls that were freshmen at Arizona. So I had some familiarity there, and then ended up going to Arizona and fell in love with Coach, fell in love with Tucson, just college town and the tradition of Arizona softball and all of the above. And so I felt like this is it. And so Saturday night came and I committed and went to Arizona to play for Coach there. But yeah, it's so much different. And I mean, I started getting letters when I was a freshman in high school, I think, in the mail, but that was pretty much it. And now it's, man, and depending on what level you are, that's the hardest part. I think, it's hard being in the top percentage, but in the middle, it's really hard because you don't even know where you're supposed to go or how to go. And the top ones have the top travel teams and the coaches and those relationships to help navigate and point and direct. And the majority of the athletes, I feel like, man, and now I think just camps and clinics is the best way to really get to understand and know kind of what the program's about. But at the same time, if you don't have the financial means to go to these camps and clinics and let alone play travel ball to get in that position, it's rough. So unfortunately, yeah, I've been blessed to be able to be a softball ambassador for Major League Baseball. And that is definitely my most rewarding and fulfilling job that I've ever had, because luckily we get to reach out to those that may not have the means and pour into those girls. And now it's been amazing. I think we're on year 7, and to see we have, many collegiate players out there, and these girls never thought that they could play in college, and now they're getting their education paid for and playing the game they love. And so that's been a dream job for sure.
Jennie, when we talk to a lot of athletes like yourself, and most of them have in their story that they played multiple sports, and you have that in your story as well. And of course today, and you're well aware, specialization is a big thing. And you said at the outset that your 11-year-old daughter is, she's playing volleyball, she's playing softball, she's doing other stuff. You guys have the same pressures. You hear the same things that we hear from parents is, oh, they're 10 years old, that, if they don't specialize, they're not going to make it. Y'all have chosen another route. Tell us why. Tell us your thoughts about all that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't even know what they want to do, and I think when we grew up, we didn't have the options to see it either, so for me, I wasn't constantly looking at what everyone else was doing. I knew I loved softball, and my sisters, my friends, because that's who I spent my weekends with, like my travel ball, softball sisters, they were all in living that same journey and with the same goal of trying to play at that next level. But now I just feel like too, our kids, and it's a blessing, but also I think it hinders our kids at the same time because they're so focused on what everyone else is doing and what they're not doing, But I know for me, especially being a taller girl, I'm 6'1", and I know it helped me athletically. And I think there wasn't much talk about just mental health and the mental side and toll of athletics back in the day. But I think for me, looking back, and I always appreciated that, I played year-round softball, but for me to be able to play basketball and volleyball all 4 years of high school, it was a mental break for me. Yes, it was still competitive, but it was different, a different environment, different players that I was playing with, and had to manage different coaches as well, and challenge my body in new and different ways. And so I always enjoyed and appreciated and loved kind of not the escape from softball, but it was just a different competitive environment that was really fun. And I think it kept me going. And I think, I knew I loved softball, and that was obviously what my future was, but what a great thing it was to be able to have those 2 other seasons in there.
Jennie, as a parent, do you, as a parent of a high schooler, do you think it's harder now when they get to high school for them to, unless they're like a top 1%, or do you think it's hard for them to play multiple sports and still try to pursue a college scholarship?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my oldest, he's a tall kid, and he started high school, and I was like, hey, your freshman year, like you should play all 3. You still don't know, he hasn't hit puberty yet. It was just like play football, play basketball, play baseball, and then see. Well, it was like the first 2 days of summer workouts, he was missing baseball the most because they told you to go in order. Well, and then he was exhausted by the end of the day, and it was like, wait a minute, I like baseball the most, and I'm, barely getting to basketball, and I'm exhausted from football in the mornings. It was just like, we can't do this. And so he did play football his first 3 years, but even that, you're late then if your team makes playoffs, or coming into baseball, and so you feel like you're late to what you love. And coaches say we're all for it, but truly they're not. And unless you're at like the smaller schools, which my son's at a 5A school, and I almost feel like, the kids that are at those smaller schools that can play everything. And like, if you're really thinking about it, like, or if we're really into reality of it, like less than 1% go play college ball. Like, let these kids be kids, and this could be their last team that they're ever a part of. Like, let them go out there and have fun. And I get it, the coaches' livelihoods of these high school coaches and programs, they're, it's on the line as well. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like, and these kids have so much more options now, like there's so many athletes that are not playing high school sports. And it breaks my heart because I know what it did for me. And I know just the accountability, the life lessons, the teamwork, discipline, sacrifice, all of those things. And honestly, it keeps them busy, and our kids need something to do, and somewhere, and somebody to hold them accountable, but in a good, positive way. That, like, and I don't care what level you made it. If, even if you didn't go past high school, every athlete that played has those memories that are just so special that still make them smile to this day. You don't have to even play past high school to have those incredible moments and memories to hold on to.
I love what you said because it's so true. The coaches, they say it's okay, but deep down they don't want you to do it. And it's, could you imagine 20 years ago though with softball how big it's grown? And you look now at the Women's College World Series. I mean, the ratings are incredible. I think hell, they got some better ratings than some of the guys' games in the College World Series last year.
Definitely.
And for me, I'm a Clemson fan. Their softball program's only been in existence 4 or 5 years now, and it's incredible. But with growth, obviously, comes some things that you got to be weary about. And I know, like you said, you're working with, obviously, the MLB stuff. I know you do tons. You have your own World Series. What are some of the things you need to watch for, though, for parents that are out there? And maybe not just in the softball landscape, but everything as you're watching which team my kid should play on.
Yeah, it's hard. And I'm definitely no expert. And I fail even as a coach, too. I mean, we're all trying to navigate this thing. So, I mean, I say this with just a humble heart, but I think you just got to watch your kid and know and be committed. And it's hard to not, I look about my daughter and she's pitching, but man, she's had basketball and volleyball and all this. Like, there's no way I can have her do one more workout today, but then it's like, man, the girls that are only playing one that are, they had the USA national team selection tryouts in Florida this last weekend. And, you can easily get caught up in all that, but it's just, I think you just have to know and trust and pray and navigate it for you and your daughter, son, and just stay committed to whatever is right for them and all we can do is do the best we can, and we tell our kids this all the time. Like, we've never done this before either. And this is a whole new era and time. And we're trying to navigate it too. Like, as long as you love it, we'll do our best. But there's, commitment and accountability that you have to hold up to too. So I think it's just make sure your kids are having fun. And it breaks my heart. I've met so many amazing athletes that they get to their senior year that have had scholarships that choose not to go play. They just want to be a regular student. And that's where I'm like, I can't imagine, like, everything that I worked for was to be able to, and granted, I had huge aspirations and I loved it that much, but it just breaks my heart that these, teens are not wanting, because I know what athletics and being a part of an athletic program, especially at the collegiate level, like, you have a whole team now and it's greater than ever, pulling for you to succeed and to help you navigate through you becoming an adult and figuring out who you are, and just the support system that you have being a part of. And those relationships will carry on for the rest of your life as far as networking and everything, to build kind of the person that you become. And so, yeah, there's so many kids that just are choosing not to. And I hope, and I don't know if we're doing it right either too. Our kids might be burned out. I hope not, but you just got to try to, and it's okay to take a season off, I think,
Yep.
You got to do what you feel is best for you and your family.
Well, burnout is clearly very, very real.
Yeah.
And you mentioned mental health a few minutes ago, and the whole mental side of the game and mental performance, for kids today is just, it's becoming tougher and tougher with social media and all those types of things. I'm curious, you were on, big stages even as a kid and coming along, and then Olympic stages, and you're the pitcher in big spotlight. How did you handle the whole mental side of the game? Did you always have confidence? Can you think back to any times when that confidence was shaken, and how did you deal with that and get that belief that you have to have the kind of success that you had?
Yeah, it wasn't talked about. So you grind it out, and and there was definitely highs and lows. And I'm so thankful I had the support system of my parents to direct me and guide me and believe in me when I didn't believe in myself, and were there to tell me if you want it bad enough and you work hard enough, you can do it, and we believe in you. And they pushed me through many tough moments, you know, and I would say, I was just read, I think, a quote from Kobe Bryant, and it was saying, you know, the lack of confidence is the lack of preparation. And I do believe that. And I've said that my whole life, you know, practice builds confidence. And that's where my confidence was gained, was in practice when nobody was watching, and to prove that I could do it, you know. But at the same time, yeah, I look back and there were times where I remember praying when I was 12, like, Lord, I just want to be normal. I don't want to be this crazy softball player. And this was 12, you know, but I'm thankful that I really try to protect our kids too of that, because I do know that sometimes the more information, the more things that grow in their head, and it's like whatever you feed into grows. And so I try not to talk about it too much, but be aware of it. And I think too, you know, my faith was a huge foundation of who I was, and that carried me over and over and over throughout my life. And I can say just the prayers of my grandmother, you know, I know for sure, those carried me through those moments. I remember my junior year, it was heavy. It was a lot. I was undefeated that, or part of that year, and it was counting down of building, you know, every game, and it was all about me. And you know, I played a team sport, and I didn't want the attention on me. It was about our team. And but you tried to fight that and the pressure. And I just, you know, I started reciting Philippians 4:13 before every single pitch, and that was just my kind of way of surrendering to God, like, hey, I did everything I could in my power, like now it's on you. And you know, I say your will be done, and it is, and that's all that I can hope and want for, is your will. And I'll handle whatever comes with that, and I'll know that you'll be with me as I walk through that. But it was just, and I think, you know, for me, that was my release of pressure too. Like I can only do so much. Like it is what it is. I'm going to do my best, and Lord, ultimately, it's up to you.
You know, we're three. Yeah, that's. I want you to expand a minute, just because we're three believers on here, and we talk about it sometimes. But I saw a cool clip where you talked about when the gold medal was being put around your neck, and what you were thinking in that moment about how it's just temporary. Can you explain a little bit, just to our listeners, about that?
Yeah. So went to Arizona, played under Coach Candrea, and he was the Olympic coach in 2004. And so I was close, obviously, with his family. His son was actually a freshman my freshman year. So, and there was not another freshman that came in my class that year at Arizona. So he was like my other freshman classmate, kind of, that I hung out with quite a bit. And we were on tour, and Sue, his wife, was on most of the trips with us. And we were about a month away from the Olympic Games, and on our last tour stop before, and we went to the airport, loading up, getting ready, and we were pumped because we had one more stop and then a break, and then we were headed over to Athens, Greece for the Olympics. And that was a long year leading up to that, and building on it, and practicing and training and all of those things. And, you know, within 36 hours, our coach lost his wife, Sue, and she had a brain aneurysm at the airport. And we all went home for our break, and we got the news, and it was just like, man, here we were, the last year of our lives, just honing in and thinking about Athens, Greece, and winning the gold. And USA softball had only won gold, and so there was no other option really but gold, and wanting to do this for coach. And then just like within, you know, a blink of an eye, all of that changed, and you just realize, like, whoa, you know, any of us can be gone any second. And we ended up obviously going to Athens, Greece. Coach came and coached us, and just the strength that he had, and his son and daughter came with us as well to watch. And I think it was just a huge reality check for just really what our priorities are, and, you know, how quickly this life is going to be over, and can be over for any of us. And we ended up plummeting through our opponents, outscoring them, I think 58-1 or something, those Olympic Games. And it was just, and we prepared so hard, and coach said over and over, we will leave no stone unturned. And that's truly what we did. He did anything and everything to possibly prepare us to bring home the gold. And we were on that gold medal podium, and I remember, hearing the stories of the Olympians before me. And there was several Olympians that were on the team as well: Lisa Fernandez, Leo Brian Amico, Laura Berg. And so here I was standing with my idols that I looked up to. Literally, I was in Lisa Fernandez's autograph line when I was, 10. And now here I am sharing a dugout with her. Like, insane. What a dream. And here we are, this is the moment that everyone wants to hear about. And you worked so hard for to be on that podium, and the flag raised up. And it was just like the Lord totally used that moment to tell me, like, Jennie, this isn't it. You thought this was it, but this really isn't. This gold medal is going to tarnish. And part of me, it was so emotional already, right? And nothing to take away from the gold medal and the pride and the work that our team had and what the Olympic means. And, there was no greater honor. There is no greater honor as far as I'm concerned than wearing USA across your chest and being able to compete for your country. But that moment was so much bigger. It was just, he totally used that moment to humble me. And it's ironic enough because everybody wants to know about your gold medal moment, right? And I'm like, God, you were so good, because now I get to use that platform to share that, yes, we think what we see is everything, but there's so much more, and we always can have hope and an eternal life with him. And I'm so thankful that, Coach's wife was a believer, and we'll be in heaven one day together.
I've never
Thank
heard.
you for sharing that.
Yeah, I've never heard a story like that about a gold medal honor.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And it's amazing. I mean, that kind of puts the whole sports in perspective, all of sports in perspective of life in a really real way. Thank you for sharing that.
I just thought, well, hold on, one more question.
I got another one too.
Okay, I got to add one more question because everybody always talks about you as a pitcher, right? And I know people, but you could rake in college too. So can you give yourself a little credit for that?
Well, it was funny. I said this, I was on some panel, and I'm like, we're sitting there watching TV, and my 13-year-old was like, Mom, you hit in college? I just saw that you had 50, or I looked at your stats, you had 50 home runs. And I was like, yeah, I hit. Yes. And then once I got to, luckily I played in the professional league. And so I was blessed to be able to hit and play first base there. But you have Crystal Bustos, who's your designated hitter on the USA team. And you're like, okay, yeah, I want Bustos in the lineup over me. So you couldn't complain at the national team level.
So I've got one more question as well. We say it all the time. I got one more question, but you've been at the epicenter. You're so humble, but you've been at the epicenter of softball becoming just going viral and being mainstream. Do you ever remember that tipping point moment where it kind of hit you that, wow, this is a big time sport in this country now? I mean, do you remember like realizing that? Because I'm sure that when you were younger, you felt like it didn't get the notoriety it should. But do you remember a moment where you sat there and said, wow, everybody knows about this, and everybody really is getting why this is such a special sport?
Yeah, I think coming off of the 2004 Olympics, we were on the cover of Sports Illustrated as 2004 Dream Team. And I think that was the moment. And it was everywhere I went pretty much. It was like, oh, you're that pitcher. And it's like, what? Like, softball, and just 8 years ago, it was like, wait, you play softball, like slow pitch, or, like, wait, you could play softball and call like fast pitch, And so and then I got the job co-hosting This Week in Baseball, which was really cool because I got to, and not that it took this to validate what we did, but, to have Alex Rodriguez stand in and say, like, that's a Randy Johnson slider to my curveball. It just kind of took, I think, what we did to the next level, having Major League Baseball players stand in and, swing and miss at our rise balls, and just be able to showcase. It's one thing to see it on TV, but then to see it in person and see how fast it really does come on the hitter, and how we can make the ball move and break. And so it was fun just to really see our sport be elevated and just educate others about it. And it's exciting. I walked into Oklahoma City last year with my daughter, and like, she thinks that 12,000 fans is normal for the Women's College World Series. And then, for me, it's like, I'm teary eyed and I'm all emotion. And she's like, what, Mom? And it was like, this is what we've dreamt of, this being normal. And even, watching the NCAA volleyball right now, we're watching that on TV, and, she's setting the ball as we're watching this. And it's just like, you have no idea, sister. This is so cool and so good. And I can't wait to see all that's to come. We're working, actually, I'm advising on Athletes Unlimited, the professional softball league as well. So we haven't been able to really bridge the gap from the collegiate game to the professional level. And so looking forward to next season. Where they're setting up a tour, and then hopefully in 2026 we'll have six different cities that will have host teams and have a league. So future's bright.
Yeah. I was talking to Jessica Mendoza about that some, because I've actually called her a few times for tips on my daughter with hitting, because even though it's like baseball, sometimes it's, can be a little different. I don't have all the answers.
Yeah. No, short and quick. That's the motto for hitting, I think. Short and quick. Keep your head still.
Yeah, I wish. But she yells at me, my daughter. I'm getting to the point she don't want to listen to me anymore.
She's 11.
Yep, she's 11.
It's gonna get better too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Finishing up, I got 2 questions, and we'll let you go. Thank you. What's your advice to the young athletes out there, the women that are honestly, trying to pursue their dream of playing at the next level, whether that's high school team or college team? What's your advice to them?
My advice to young athletes is surround yourself with good people that are going to push you in the right direction, hold you accountable, and just have fun. You got to love it. And so don't let other people take the joy away from you if you truly do love it, because I've met so many athletes that because of a coach or because of a teammate or something, they fall out of love with the game. And it's like, do not give outsiders the control over your love, your passion. Keep your head down. Don't look to your left. Don't look to your right. Just keep grinding away. Good things are going to happen in the timing that it's supposed to happen, and just keep working and soak up. Be a sponge too. But obviously, I think it's a double-edged sword. Protect yourself, but at the same time, soak up information that pushes you in the right direction.
Awesome. And then my last question, what's your advice to the parents besides get the heck out of the way? But besides that, what's your advice to them?
Oh, I'm taking all advice, honestly, because the struggle is real. It's just one day at a time. And I think just have grace and show grace. And, my daughter and I, like, we apologize to each other at least once a week. And there's things that I fail at. And there's things, she had a bad attitude. She'll come in and just like, a tear will fill up in her eyes. She's like, I'm sorry, Mom. And it's like, we'll keep pushing forward, and we'll keep learning, and we'll keep growing, and we'll try to figure it out. And so I think just show grace and just love them hard and love them well. I think that's if they know how much they're loved, I think you can push and direct and guide.
I'll tell you what, though, I might have to bring my 11U Diamond Dogs out to Louisiana to the Jennie Finch World Series.
Come on.
Maybe we can hook horns.
Let's go.
Although all my girls might leave and want to go play for her, and I might be done. That's what I'm saying. I might not have a team.
No, I would love it. It's super fun. It's great. And registration opens soon. So
I saw that was June 12th through the 15th. I looked it up.
Yes, that usually sells out like in a week or 2 weeks. And we open up registration in January. So get signed up.
Okay.
We need to bring a film crew out for that.
Yeah, I don't know. We might. Well, I tell you, we can't
stuff.
thank you enough for joining us. As I told you, as a guy with 2 daughters, thanks for being a great ambassador and role model. It means a lot. There's not enough of them out there, but everything that y'all do, we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Blessed to be able to be in this game and hopefully lead others to fall in love with the game as well and keep going.